Hello, good morning, and welcome to this Dawn Busters Challenge. Still dark though, not dawn yet. We have two American blended whiskeys, both blended at an 80-20 blend ratio. 4 parts grain neutral spirits, 1 part straight whiskey, bourbon more than likely, but we can't say for sure. No website listing. And I paid the same amount for both, $13.99. Yeah, $13.99 for both. I was thinking this was $10.99. The other one was $10.99. I'm pretty sure it was $13.99. So this is, and I bought them both at Total Wine and More. This is Classic Club American Blended Whiskey, aged 3 years, bottled in Kentucky by I.W.A. Distilling. American blended whiskey, meaning the whiskeys in this blend could come from anywhere in America. They're not necessarily from Kentucky, okay? Mr. R says, morning, good to see you doing another Dawn Busters. I enjoy these challenges. Oh, thank you. Now here is Bay Street Spirits, blended American whiskey. Same thing, blended American whiskey. The whiskey could come from any state, but we know it's not because of what the bottle says. Let's see if this will focus. Yeah, there it goes. It's showing a cavern in Florida with whiskey barrels in it, or some kind of barrels. Yes, Florida does have caverns, believe it or not. Introduced in 2010. No age statement, which means the straight whiskeys in here are aged at least 4 years. So we got at least 4 years, and we know this is 3. Do they have coloring added? Well, this one doesn't say anything about coloring or flavoring. And that company is pretty good about telling you if they have coloring or flavoring. Just go to Walmart and look up any product that says I.W.A. Distilling, and it's going to sometimes say natural flavors and caramel color added, or it won't. So they're good about it. This one, I don't know much about Bay Street Spirits at all. I just know it's bottled. It's produced in Florida and bottled in Florida by Florida Caribbean Distillers. So it says right here. It says it somewhere. Oh yeah, produced and bottled in Auburndale, Florida. All right, and there's a distillery in Auburndale, Florida. I'll put photos of it on Alcohol Eggs, my Facebook group. So there's some good photos of that distillery. I don't know if they give tours. You'd have to call them. They might. I don't know. Okay, I'd like to take a tour. It's been there since 1943. I think it was a Seagram's distillery, started in 1943. And then, when Seagram's went out of business, this company took it over. And they produce a famous rum, which a few stores around here sell, not in this town, but it's called Club Caribe rum from Puerto Rico. They have a distillery in Puerto Rico also. This is their Central Florida distillery. It's pale. It doesn't say anything about coloring added, and it's very yellowish gold. So it doesn't look like they have any coloring added. Okay, flavoring either, more than likely. It's a tan, white, and black label. Tan, white, black, and gray. Tan, white, black, and gray label. This is brown, gold, black, and white. Similar color schemes for these American blended whiskeys. I've gotten it right 13 times and gotten it wrong once. That was yesterday morning, which had me aggravated to no end. But 13 wins, 1 loss. Not a bad record. Okay. Yeah, big plastic bottles. I didn't see glass. I saw glass for some Classic Club products at Total Wine and some other stores, but I didn't see glass for the whiskey. It was like for the brandy. Okay. I think. Yeah, I think it was the brandy. Okay, so good. I got it even on the pour. That doesn't happen too often. You can see that you could probably see that the Bay Street Spirits is much paler. It's about as pale yellow as you could get without it being not yellow, without it, being clear. And this one's pretty light, chestnut or tan, something. So this is very pale. And I notice every whiskey coming from Auburndale, Florida, Florida Caribbean Distillers, they're super pale, like that King's Square, which I bought in Texas. I haven't seen it around here. King Square. It is so pale. So obviously they're not adding coloring. And the King Square is a higher percentage of straight whiskey. It's 27.5% straight whiskey, just like Kessler. So it has more of an authentic bourbon flavor. Okay. Max Walt says, good morning, Ron. Good morning to you, Max Walt, in the Russian Federation. Okay, so why do they make these products, which are mostly blended whiskey? They are blended, mostly grain neutral spirits and only 20 to 30% straight whiskey. Why do they do that? Probably to save money. That's why they don't cost a lot. But on the other hand, you can find straight bourbon for the same price. Like you could go to a liquor store and find, like I found the Classic Club for $13.99 for the handle. But you might find straight bourbon for $13.99 for the handle. So, you know, I don't quite understand it, but I know it's popular. Look at Seagram 7 Crown. It's one of the most popular whiskeys in America of any style. It's in the top 10. It's only 25% straight bourbon or whatever whiskey. But it's coming from Midwest grain products, so you would assume it's bourbon. And 75% grain neutral spirits. So the rationale eludes me, but I'm thinking it's to save money. But then, like I said, there's that problem when you can find straight bourbons and blended bourbons that are the same price as the blended whiskey. So therefore, ipso facto, exploding plastic inevitable. Okay. I'm going to close my eyes because if I look down and see that super pale appearance, I'm going to know what it is. I've never seen either one of these products in my town. I've seen them in Metairie, like I said, at Total Wine and More. Are they private label brands? To my knowledge, they are not private label that is owned by Total Wine. They're just obscure brands that Total Wine sells because they sell a lot of obscure brands. And I have seen them. I have seen, well, not Bay Street. I did see Bay Street, but not the whiskey. I saw Bay Street. What was it? Vodka or something over there at Savannah Discount. So they're around, you know, lurking around in the dark corners of America's liquor stores. That's about what you could say. Now, I bought a bottle of Irish whiskey, never opened it. I will try to open it this year, 2024. I looked up the website, had a website, and it said this is produced exclusively for Total Wine and More stores. So that's a private label only. It's like the beer, you know, you get Bosom American IPA or Bosom Double IPA. Those are only produced for Trader Joe's stores. An exclusive agreement between Rhinelander Brewing of Wisconsin and Trader Joe's. Okay, which is our theme Wednesday night, private label / store brand, however you want to express that, beers. Yes, okay. Now, somebody said Winn-Dixie used to sell a private label beer called Fisher, Fischer, Fisher. But that might not have really been a private label. It might have just been a cheap brand that they carry, you know, because I don't know anything about Fisher. But it might have been. But I don't know. I know Katz and Bestoff, drugstore chain, used to have Katz and Bestoff beer, K&B beer. I never tried it. They went out of business. They got bought out by Rite Aid when they went out of business, but they got bought out in 98, so I never tried it. I tried their Katz and Bestoff vodka, which tasted exactly minimal flavor. Like Taka vodka. Makes sense. It was made by the same company. Very pale grain, very light grains, mainly corn, obviously, and a little bit of oak, Charred oak, nah, just oak. Oak and corn. 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 All right. Yes, that same experience, but a little charred oak and maybe perhaps some vanilla. 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 Okay, taste time. A lot of oak barrel. Straight up oak, 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 oak. It's like you drink in a barrel, in a liquid form. It's like, what does an oak barrel taste like in a liquid form? Like that. Maybe some grits, corn grits, which is what they make whiskey out of. But yellow corn usually is the, but you could use white corn. Uh, yeah, not as much oak, more vanilla, and some char. But let's take this into account. It's a minimal amount of char, maybe 20% char. Well, that makes sense. 20% straight whiskey, right? I did that on purpose. Yeah. So it's not something that you could hand someone and say, try this, and they're going to come back and say, what bourbon is that? I don't think anybody would ever think it's bourbon. No. They might think it's Canadian whiskey. They might think it's just whiskey. Like, what is this whiskey? Okay. But to say bourbon, I don't think anybody would say that. I definitely don't think they would say that over here. I am getting a little paperiness though, and I thought that was a feature of the classic club, like the corn husks, strangely. And this has that little kind of loud bite to it. At the back end, it gives you a bite. And I notice that these coming from Central Florida, Auburndale, Florida, do tend to have that little kind of harsh bite to them. The King Square did, and I remember the Bay Street Spirit having it. So not the smoothest thing, you see. Now some people would say, "Oh, you and those guys with all your smoothness, that's what gives it character. It doesn't need to be everything. Everything does not need to be smooth." Okay, well, this one would be one of those because it surely is not. I'm going to say this is the Bay Street. It should have a letter C for competitor. And it does. Haha. 14 and 1. 14 wins, 1 loss. I don't know how I got it wrong yesterday, but it did. Okay, let's see comments. Ken Brown, good morning, everyone. Thanks for going live, quote unquote. No, it is actually live. It's not, supposedly live. It's really live. It's just live. All right. Until it goes off the air and then it'll be recorded. Good morning, Ken Brown. Have a nice Sunday. Relax. We're all going to relax. We're going to try to relax. Go to church, go to mass, do fandango. He. Super Sunday, Super Sunday. I've got a wheat beer from Germany for Super Sunday. 11.2 ounces. Sad to say, not a full 12. But thank you, David, for that bottle. Famous wheat beer company, been around since the 1800s. Then probably watch Louisiana State University women's basketball at 2 o'clock. I'm not going to act like I'm interested in women's basketball because I'm not. But they're playing, and there's a local team, and they were the national champions last year. So I'll watch it. as much as I could tolerate. I'll watch it, and then I'll flip over to the National Pandering Football League game at 4:30 Eastern. National Pandering Football League, also known as the National Socialist Football League. But yeah, I'll watch some of that stuff. All right. A privately owned team versus a city owned team, public government owned team. Yeah, did you know they have a team that's owned by the government? National Socialist Football League team owned by the government? And there's only one team like that in the whole league. All right. Okay, what can we say about Bay Street Spirits? It's okay. It's okay. It seems all natural, but it's rough cut. So it is natural, and like you get no coloring added, no flavoring added. It's just straight grains, meaning like 90% corn, but you can tell it got rye in there, gives it that kind of bite. Corn and rye. It might just be corn and rye. I don't think it's got any wheat in it to soften it up, and I don't think it's got any barley whiskey in it. So it's a little unrefined, even though it's aged 4 years. It didn't mellow it too much. So it's probably aged in well, let's see, if it's straight corn whiskey, it would be aged in uncharred barrels or used barrels. It does almost taste like it's straight corn whiskey. You know, like that mellow corn, which is 100 proof. This is only 80 proof. But it does taste like that, like they're not using bourbon, which is fine. They would not have to use bourbon. You could just take grain neutral spirits. Let's assume they were 100% corn distillate. Okay, 100% corn distillate, grain neutral spirits. Let's say you aged it in used barrels or just uncharred. Just take a barrel you didn't char it, age it for 4 years. Boom, you got straight corn whiskey. Simple. You blend it with 80% grain neutral spirits that are unaged, and there you got Bay Street Spirits. And maybe that's why it's a little rough, but it tastes all right. You know, tastes all right. I wouldn't buy it again. Why would I buy it again? I got 60% of the bottle left, so it's going to last me years and years and years at this rate of consumption. So it wouldn't be any purpose of buying it again. Would rather have it in glass, and I do know they make glass 750s, glass liters, but I didn't see it, so I didn't buy it. Personally, I've not run across trouble with plastic, but other people have this thing against it, but that's cool too. I'm not saying plastic looks pretty or anything, or it's kind of anything classy, but that's the situation at hand. Classic Club has done pretty well. Hadn't really stood out, but thankfully I've gotten it right. Like I said, 14 times and only one wrong. 14 out of 15 attempts. Now I got one last one tomorrow. There's no way I'm going to get it confused with Seagram 7 Crown. That seems beyond any kind of expectation. So we got Seagram 7 Crown, as everybody calls it, Seagram 7, but the official name is Seagram 7 Crown. American blended whiskey, been on the market since 1934, going up against Classic Club, and Classic Club will not win. It has no chance. There is no way it can win. It's impossible. It cannot happen. So that should put me at 15 wins, 1 loss, 15 correct out of 16 attempts, and that would be a great record. And then we're on to Canadian whiskey, and I've got a very interesting Canadian whiskey coming up, and that's going to be a fabulous taste challenge series. So get ready for that. All right, y'all take care and have a good Sunday.